Hey everyone, I'm Mel from Fortin Amps, and in this video we are running the Natas through the Seymour Duncan Power Stage. Let's go. So the tone you just heard was the Fortin Natas going straight through the Seymour Duncan Power Stage. For the full signal chain, I have my LTD EC1000 going into the Zool Plus, then into the Fortin Natas, then into the Seymour Duncan Power Stage. I felt a little spicy for this one, so I used my Orange 212, mic'd up with an SM57, going into my Apollo. For this demo, I started off dialing in the Natas with everything on the power stage dialed in at 12 o'clock. And to be honest, when I started dialing in the gain, everything started sounding good at 12 o'clock. When I dial in the Natas, I typically like to pick a tone shift position first because that dictates how the whole entire gain structure and the EQ coming out of the power amp sounds. For this specific power amp, and I think it's going to be like this every time I use a power amp, I like using the tone shift in the down position. And the reason I prefer that is because I believe a preamp has a more scooped sound, whether it be a preamp from a normal guitar amp or a preamp on a pedal. And in this case, I'm using the Natas as a preamp, so I prefer it in the down position. It didn't sound too bad in the up position, but I just felt like I was dealing with better frequencies in the down position. I like to dial in treble first because it gives me a sense of taming the harshness. And in this case, I landed on the 1 o'clock position on the treble. Next up was the mids. I also landed on the 1 o'clock position here just because I wanted that little extra bite. As for the bass, I did feel like it sounded a little thin, so I did crank it up to the 3 o'clock position. And playing around with the volume knobs on each, both the power amp and the volume knob on the Natas, I did feel like going in to the power amp, I could push the Natas a little bit more and I got a little bit, I wouldn't say saturation, but it did sound a lot better cranking the volume knob, so I landed on the 2 o'clock position for the volume knob. As for the grind and girth knobs, I feel like they're the presence and resonance knobs. They're not exactly that because it's not exactly a power amp, but I did crank the grind for that extra presence, and that landed at a 4 o'clock, so almost dimed, but it's pretty up there. And the girth I had about 1 o'clock because I really wanted to get that power and that bite, especially since this isn't a tube amp. As for the power stage parameters, I landed at about 2 o'clock just because I felt like it needed that extra cut. And then the mids, again at the 1 o'clock, I feel like I'm adding a lot of top end frequencies here. And as for the bass, I always feel like I should bump it a little, so I have it at the 1 o'clock position. And lastly, when I was doing all the reamps, I impulsively decided to hit the kill just to give me a little bit more articulation because in this piece, I'm doing a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs. So all in all, here's what the tone sounds like in a mix. I hope you dug that tone, and here's what it sounds like isolated. So there you have it. That's the Seymour Duncan Power Stage with the Fortin Natas. I hope you guys dug the tone, and if you did, hit that thumbs up button, ring the bell for notifications, sub to the channel if you haven't already, and let me know what pedals or amps I should try out with the Fortin gear next. This one was a request from one of the first videos with the Natas, and I'm so stoked that I did it because honestly, it's a super lightweight rig that you can just throw in a backpack and play at a show. Minus your cab, but you know, you have to carry that unless you have an IR loader or something like that to go to front of house, but I always like playing with a cab, so yeah. So there it is. Thanks for having me, everyone. I'm Mel from Fortin Amps, and I'll catch you on the next one.